where you really feel like.
Oh, in the
Yeah,
beach, yeah. Sing it there,
yeah,
folks.
yeah. Big
It's,
tune.
oh, go ahead, Harris. Sorry, I don't know why I thought it. Go ahead, miss.
Big tune from Taurus Riley. So Inspector Jacqueline Dillon is a coordinator for the Jamaica Constabulary Force's Domestic Violence Intervention Center, and she's here to discuss how law enforcement is responding to the issue of gender-based violence in Jamaica, as well as the new domestic violence intervention centers, which will be operationalized through the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Good morning, Inspector. Welcome.
Good morning, Delia. Good morning,
Hi,
Simone. Good morning,
Inspector.
viewers.
Thank you for
Thanks.
joining us. Thank you for joining us. So let's start with first of all, Inspector, where are we at in terms of domestic violence in Jamaica? Can you share some statistics with us?
All right, as it relates to domestic violence across the island, um, as it is now, since the pandemic has gotten a little higher than before, many of the reasons are because persons are now in confined spaces, and so the whole ability to come out and vent elsewhere is not there. But as it relates to statistics across the island, so far, since the start of this year, we have had over 700 cases reported since the beginning of this year. What we saw in the statistic is that the month of August show a high number of incidents reported across the island.
Okay.
Wow. And for the 700 that have been reported, is it fair to assume that there are another couple hundred that have not?
Oh yes, oh yes. We have quite a number based on the statistics again, because when we look at them by police areas, we realize that because of the numbers that are coming in, many of these incidents sometimes are not reported to the police. They go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Persons will talk to a friend, the person will talk to a neighbor. And so the matter of reporting again is still a no-no for a number of persons, especially our men. You find that the women are talking about it a lot more than the men. Again, stigma and culture
Yeah.
and socialization play a great role in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's walk through what happens because from your end, I'm a victim of domestic violence, Inspector. What do I do?
The first thing we do is say to you, come and talk to us, the police. Do not wait until it becomes physical, because that is one of the reasons why the domestic violence intervention centers were actually established, because a lot of persons wait until it becomes physical. And when it becomes physical, that is where persons can die. And we don't want you to wait until you can die. Seek the help from early. So if you are a victim of domestic violence and even an abuser, come and talk to the police, report at a domestic violence intervention center, or go to a local police station and tell the police you need some assistance as it relates to domestic violence and they will advise you on how you can get the help. Because as it is right now, we do not have domestic violence intervention centers right across all divisions. And so the divisions that are without intervention centers, the local police can deal with those as well.
Okay, I want to ask you to clarify, because you say don't wait until it gets physical, but by its very nature, physical abuse is physical, right? So you're saying whether it's emotional abuse or you see the potential for it to become physical, that's when you need to come to the DVI and say, I need help.
Yes. Yes.
So there's a notion, Inspector, and I think we can talk about it, that the police are often ill-equipped to deal with folks who have suffered domestic violence. We've heard stories of people going to stations or calling the police and not getting the kind of response that we think is desirable. How are we retooling our officers? How have we retooled these officers who are going to be in these centers to be sensitive to the reports they get and to act in the best interest of the complainant?
Let me say this, Simone. Prior to these 6, we already have 4 existing centers, and they have been doing exceptionally well. The men and women who are at these centers are specifically trained to deal with issues of domestic violence and abuse. These are some of the persons who have social work background. They have other backgrounds that will in counseling that will assist them. Because one of the things, the Domestic Violence Intervention Center are built on five pillars: intervention, counseling, awareness, our response, and in particular, empathy. And so all the persons who are assigned to the centers are trained in a particular way. But it's not just the center managers who are trained in that particular way. We have been training a number of police officers right across the island to respond to domestic violence in a positive way and in an effective way. And in many instances, it is working.
Okay.
Yes, we do have a long way to go, but we have begun the process and it is working effectively. Once the police officers who are out there follow the protocols that are in place. And just recently, we also published our domestic violence policy that speaks to how police officers must respond in incidents of domestic violence and abuse.
A lot of times, Inspector, domestic violence victims find it difficult to make the report. If I am a neighbor, I'm a family member, a church member, community member, and I have a reason to believe that someone is facing domestic violence, what do I do? Can I engage the police?
Of course,
Okay.
you can take it upon yourself to come to the domestic violence center and say, look here, I have a friend or a neighbor, and I know for a fact that they need help, but they will not come on their own. Because we have had that. We have had instances of persons calling us for help for somebody else. And we ask the person who called us just to take the person to us, or would they prefer for us to visit? Because we do that from time to time.
Okay.
And so we respond in various ways. If it is a case where we have to go, then we go. If it's a case where we ask them to come, then we ask them to come. And a lot of times we ask friends and family members who will call out for help for these persons to assist us in getting them to talk to us.
Where are the centers located?
So as it is now, the centers are located in the following parishes. There's one currently at Constant Spring that has been in operation since 2018. We have two in St. Thomas, one at Morant Bay and one at Yallas. And there's another one at Matilda's Corner. The newest one is at Portmore 100-man station on the compound of the Portmore police station. We have another one that is at A's in Clarendon. We have St. Elizabeth at Santa Cruz police station, Westmoreland at Negril police station, St. Anne at Alexandra police station, and St. Mary at Gale police station. These are the current locations for the 10 centers that are now up.
Is there a specific reason why those locations, Inspector, does it have anything to do with the statistics of domestic violence in those specific areas?
Yes, it does. It has to do with the level of domestic violence and abuse that comes out of some of these areas. And also, if you notice that all of these centers are on the compound of police stations for security reason, because we know that abusers will go at any length if it is that they really want to seriously harm a victim.
Yeah.
And so we strategically place them at police stations to allow for safety and security and allow for the victim to feel comfortable in talking about domestic violence and the issues around domestic violence and how we can help.
Okay, one more question from me before I go, or before we go. If the perpetrator is a member of the force, how is that dealt with?
The members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force are even, I often say to persons, they are even dealt with at a different level than our members of the public, because the Jamaica Constabulary Force has internal systems to deal with our members. And so if a spouse report a incident of domestic violence to the police, then we are duty bound to act in accordance with the law. But apart from acting in accordance with the law, we also go beyond that. So we have our medical services branch and our chaplain services branch that also becomes a part of that intervention. So in some instances, you will find a police officer being referred for psychiatric evaluation, depending on the nature of the situation that presents itself.
Gotcha. Okay, good. Reassuring. Thank you very much, Inspector. Appreciate it this morning. Jacqueline Dillon, Coordinator for the Jamaica Constabulary Forces Domestic Violence Intervention Center. Bless you, Inspector. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next.
Hope through Geraldine.